On my graduation day, my sister smirked. Hope you enjoy the stage while it lasts. Confused, I asked, what are you talking about? She pulled out her phone and showed me an email, a complaint that could get my diploma revoked. My hands trembled as I whispered, you did this. She smiled, nothing personal. I just can't let you win. But when I pulled out my own proof, the tables turned instantly. I, 24 male, was the first person in my family to go to college. Full scholarship to a state university in California. Worked my ass off for 4 years. No skipping classes, no parties, no trouble. I was laser-focused because I didn't have a safety net. My family isn't rich. My mom works at a dentist's office. My dad drives long-haul trucks. Everything I've done has been for them, and for me. My younger sister, 22 female, let's call her Riley, has always had this weird competitive thing with me. We were never close growing up. Different personalities. I was the responsible one, she was the wild one. But she was smart, maybe even smarter than me, which made things worse somehow. She just didn't apply herself. Constant drama, skipping school, lying to our parents, stealing money out of my wallet when we were teenagers. She cleaned up a bit in college, but we were never tight. Fast forward to graduation day. I'm in my cap and gown, walking around the big campus stadium where they're setting up for the ceremony. My professors are there. My name's on the program. Everything's lined up. Riley walks over in heels and a tight black dress, fake smile on her face. I'm surprised she even showed up. We hug awkwardly. Then she leans in and says, hope you enjoy the stage while it lasts. At first, I thought she was making some dumb joke. I laughed and said, what are you talking about? She pulls out her phone and shows me an email. Subject line, Urgent Academic Misconduct Report, my full name. It's sent to the university's Academic Integrity Office. She lets me read it. The email accuses me of plagiarizing my senior thesis. It claims multiple identical passages between my work and an online source. It uses words like formal investigation, diploma revocation, zero tolerance. My blood runs cold. I feel my stomach drop. I look up at her and say, you did this. She smirks. Doesn't deny it. Nothing personal, she says. I just can't let you win. Let me say something about that line. I just can't let you win. That hit me harder than the email. All I could think was, win what? What game have we been playing that I didn't know about? My whole life I've just been trying to stay above water. And she sees it as some competition? I stood there frozen. Everything started to blur. The chairs, the stage, the people taking photos. None of it felt real anymore. I couldn't breathe. My hands were shaking so bad I thought I was going to drop her phone. Then something snapped in me. I handed her phone back and said, okay, you want to play dirty. Messages from Riley asking me to borrow sections. Copies of her assignments that match mine word for word. Emails between us that clearly showed I was the original author. I didn't say anything. I just handed her the folder and watched her face change. Her smirk disappeared. Her hands clenched around the papers. She flipped through them quickly, then looked up at me. You kept all this? Yeah, I said. I didn't think I'd need it, but I guess I was wrong. She didn't say a word. We just stood there, in this weird silent standoff. Guests were walking by. People were laughing, taking selfies. And here we were, two siblings standing in the middle of the stadium parking lot, holding a folder full of evidence. I was shaking, not because I was scared anymore. I was furious. I said, if you go through with this, I'll make sure they see every word of what you did. She stared at me. For the first time ever, she didn't have a comeback. Then she turned around and walked away. No apology. No explanation. Just walked. I stood there for a long time. I don't even remember walking into the ceremony after that. Everything felt off, like I was floating. But I still walked the stage. I still shook the dean's hand. My name was still called. And I kept my folder close the entire time. After the ceremony, I didn't go to the family dinner. So I texted them, said I wasn't feeling well. Not a total lie. Instead, I went back to my apartment, changed out of the gown, and stared at my phone. No messages from her. Nothing. The next morning, it hit me hard. I woke up thinking maybe it was a bad dream. Then I saw the folder on my desk. Reality punched me again. Around noon, I got an email from the university's integrity office. Dear, my name, we have received a report regarding your academic work. A preliminary review will begin immediately. I stopped reading. She actually sent it. Even after I showed her the proof, she sent the complaint. I couldn't believe it. I just sat there for a while, not moving, just staring at the screen. That same day, I went to the administration building and asked to speak to Dr. Halpern, the chair of the Integrity Board. He was a strict, older guy who taught ethics courses. I had taken one of his classes freshman year. I brought my folder. When I sat down across from him, he barely looked at me. "We received something serious," he said, adjusting his glasses. "I know," I said quietly, "but I need to show you something first." I opened the folder. I didn't say much, just let the document speak. He read silently, page after page. Took his time. At one point, he asked how I got the copies of her assignments. I told him the truth. She emailed them to me when she asked for help. When he finally looked up, his tone changed. "Thank you for bringing this in," he said. "We'll look into it." That's all he said. I left the office more confused than before. 2 days later, I got another email. The investigation was officially underway. Both of us, me and Riley, were being looked at. They would examine all submitted assignments, interview instructors, and cross-reference documents. I was being treated like I was guilty too. Because of her. I called my mom that night. She sounded happy. "We missed you at dinner," she said. "Riley said you two had a little disagreement, but she's not mad." "Not mad?" I was stunned. "Did she tell you what she did?" I asked. "She said you overreacted. That maybe you were stressed about graduating." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Riley was rewriting the story, and my parents were buying it. I didn't say anything else. Just hung up. A week later, I got a call from Maya. Maya was my ex. We broke up a year ago, but we were still on okay terms. She was in a different major, but we had a few classes together early on. She sounded nervous. "Hey," she said. "I know this is random, but Riley messaged me a few days ago." That got my attention. She asked if I still had those screenshots. The ones from that time you helped me with the research project. I remembered. Maya had also asked to see my early thesis drafts during her project. She never stole anything. But we had talked about how I always wrote everything myself, and she even praised me for it in our texts. "You still have them?" I asked. "Yeah, I do. And I didn't send them to her. I just thought you should know. Something's off." I asked her to forward the screenshots to me. They showed texts from almost 2 years ago, messages where Maya and I talked about my research timeline, my original ideas, and even me complaining about Riley copying stuff before. It was gold. I added the new evidence to the folder and emailed it to Dr. Halpern. That's when things started moving fast. 2 days later, I got an invitation to a hearing. Riley would be there too. We present our sides in front of the Integrity Board. It felt like a courtroom, just without the gavel. The morning of the hearing, my mom texted, "I hope you and your sister can talk. She's very upset. She said you're trying to ruin her academic record." I didn't even respond. I was done explaining myself. When I walked into the room, Riley was already there. Hair perfectly styled, blazer too formal, like she was trying to look put together. She glanced at me, then looked away. The board sat in a semicircle. Dr. Halpern in the center. They told us both we had 10 minutes each. Riley went first. She acted like the victim. She said she was just trying to protect academic integrity, that she found similarities in my thesis and felt obligated to report it. She spoke clearly. Too clearly. Like she rehearsed every line. Then it was my turn. I didn't try to sound polished. I just told the truth. I laid out the timeline. Showed my drafts. The Google Docs history. The screenshots. The messages. Maya's testimony. And then I pulled out the final card. I had recently learned from a mutual friend that Riley was facing academic probation last semester. Her GPA had dropped below the required level for her program. If she didn't raise it, she'd lose her scholarship and maybe get kicked out. I looked at the board and said she needed a distraction. Something big enough to shift attention away from herself. That's why she did this. You could hear a pin drop. Riley's face turned red. She opened her mouth to say something, but stopped. The board dismissed us and said they'd reach out once they reviewed everything. I walked out and didn't look back. But I knew this wasn't over. 2 days after the hearing, I thought maybe, just maybe, it would be over soon. I had laid out everything. I had proof. The board had to see through her. Then I got another email. Only this time, it wasn't from the Integrity Office. It was from the Campus Security Department. Subject: Urgent. Request for statement regarding alleged access violation. I had to read it 3 times to make sure I understood. Apparently, Someone had used my university login from an off-campus IP to access a restricted research database. And the login attempt was flagged because it happened after I'd officially graduated, 2 days after the ceremony. The email said I was suspected of accessing records I wasn't authorized to view. If true, it could be considered a violation of university policy, possibly even grounds for retroactive disciplinary action. I stared at the screen in disbelief. I hadn't logged into anything. I hadn't even touched my laptop in days. But someone had. I thought back to that day in the parking lot. Riley had my phone in her hands for at least 30 seconds. And my password? It was saved in my Notes app. I'd never changed it. I checked my login history using a backup security portal the IT department had shown us in orientation. Sure enough, there it was. The device used wasn't mine. The location was 2 cities over, same place Riley's boyfriend lived. Now I was mad. Really mad. She had tried to frame me for cheating. That didn't work. So now she was trying to create a second scandal, a digital footprint that made me look like I was snooping or stealing data after I graduated. I called campus IT and asked if they could pull device fingerprints. The guy was helpful, said it might take a few days, but he'd escalated. I gave him the exact timestamp and told him the situation. Then I got a call from someone I didn't expect. Dr. Halpern. His voice was quieter this time. Less cold. We're still reviewing everything, he said. But I wanted to let you know. Riley won't be attending her final year. I sat down. What? She withdrew her registration this morning. No explanation. I couldn't even process it. She just quit. There was a pause. Then he added something I'll never forget. People are complex, my name. Sometimes they get caught in a spiral and start breaking things just to feel like they still have control. I hung up and sat in silence. But I couldn't shake one feeling. Something didn't add up. If she'd withdrawn, why try to frame me again? Why fake a login? Unless. I opened my email and checked the document logs. I went through the folder I had backed up, and then I saw it. One of my old thesis drafts, an early, messy version, had been copied, word for word, into a different student's paper in the spring semester. It was a name I didn't recognize. Not Riley. But when I searched that name on Facebook, it was her roommate. And then I remembered. Riley had told me once, in passing, that her roommate was too dumb to pass intro writing without help. It hit me like a truck. Riley hadn't just copied me. She'd sold my work. Or passed it off. Maybe more than once. If the university found that trail, it wouldn't just be academic misconduct. It could be a whole ring of academic fraud. And that meant she wasn't quitting to escape. She was quitting before they caught her. I had no idea how deep this went. But I was going to find out. Because I still had one more weapon left. An old laptop I'd stopped using last year, where I'd saved voice memos of tutoring sessions I did for Riley and her friends. Some of those recordings had them talking about swapping papers, laughing about professors being too lazy to notice. I never deleted those files. I opened the laptop, plugged it in, and hit play. And just like that, the final piece of the puzzle clicked into place. It all came crashing down the night of the departmental banquet. It's this small event the university holds a couple of weeks after graduation for top thesis students and select faculty. I didn't want to go, not after everything. But Dr. Halpern personally emailed me an invitation. He said it'd be good closure. I agreed. I figured if I had to face the mess, might as well finish it in the same room where it all started. What I didn't know was that Riley would be there too. She wasn't supposed to be. She'd withdrawn from classes. But there she was, standing near the refreshment table, in a burgundy dress, sipping something out of a plastic cup like nothing had happened. I froze in the doorway. She saw me. She smiled. Not a full smile, just the kind you give when you're trying to pretend things are fine. And for a second, I thought maybe I'd made a mistake. Maybe I should have let it go. Then I remembered the recordings. I had emailed them to Dr. Halpern 2 days earlier. Voice memos where Riley and her roommate discussed copying papers and selling them to struggling students. There were jokes, names, even prices. The audio quality was grainy, but clear enough. That's when I saw him, Dr. Halpern, standing in a corner with 2 other faculty members. They weren't talking, just watching Riley. I made my way over. "Did you listen?" I asked quietly. He nodded once. "We verified it," he said. "This goes beyond you. We've identified at least 4 other students who submitted sections of your work under different names." My chest tightened. "She's here tonight because she was told to be," he added. "We needed to hear her response in person." At that moment, a woman from the English department clinked her glass for attention. Everyone, thank you for coming. Before dinner is served, a few words about this year's thesis honors. I barely heard the rest. I was too focused on what was about to go down. Halfway through her speech, Dr. Halpern stepped up and interrupted. That alone was shocking. He was the kind of guy who'd wait patiently in line at a funeral. But this time, he didn't wait. I apologize, he said calmly, but I have to address something urgent. It concerns academic integrity violations that have come to our attention involving multiple individuals, including one in this room. You could feel the temperature drop. People looked around, confused. Some looked at me. Some looked at Riley. She stood very still. Dr. Halpern didn't name her, but he didn't need to. He mentioned the copied thesis material, the voice recordings, the pattern of submissions traced back to one source. And then he said, "We've asked the student responsible to provide an explanation tonight. Ms. Riley, last name. If you'd like to speak now, the floor is yours." All eyes turned to her. I could see it, the shift. Her usual smug posture, her fake calm, all of it cracked. I didn't, she started, then stopped. This is ridiculous. He's lying. He's always been jealous, someone in the room scoffed. A guy from the student council, I think. Dr. Halpern stayed stone-faced. You're not on trial here. You're being offered a chance to respond. I was just helping my roommate. Riley blurted. She was struggling, and he gave me permission to use some parts. He said I could. My stomach flipped. No, I said, stepping forward. I said you could read it, not steal it, not sell it. You were always the favorite, she spat. You got the attention, the praise. I just wanted something that was mine. And instead of doing the work, I said, voice rising, you tried to destroy me. Her face crumpled, not crying, more like imploding. She looked around, realized everyone was still watching, judging. You don't get it, she said, her voice shaking. You never failed anything. You never had to start over. You always made it look so easy. Dr. Halpern didn't say anything more. He just turned to the English chair and nodded. Thank you for your honesty, Ms. Last name, the chairwoman said flatly. You'll receive formal communication from the board within the next 48 hours. Riley didn't wait for the end. She grabbed her bag and walked out. No one followed her. The banquet resumed, awkwardly. People tried to eat, tried to chat, but the tension stayed thick in the air. A few people came up to me after and patted my shoulder. Some apologized for not believing me sooner. I didn't say much. I just nodded. Later that night, my mom called. I just got off the phone with Riley, she said. She's saying you humiliated her in public. That you ruined her life. I let out a laugh. A bitter one. She ruined her own life, Mom. I just stopped her from ruining mine too. There was silence on the line. Then Mom said softly, why didn't you tell us sooner? I did, I said. You just didn't want to hear it. She didn't respond. That was the last real conversation I had with either of them for a while. It's been a few months now. Riley lost all academic credits tied to her final year. The university is still investigating other students connected to her scheme. I heard through a mutual friend that she moved back home and hasn't applied anywhere new. As for me, I kept my diploma. I got an internship in San Diego, something real, something earned. I started fresh. New people, new place, no drama. But the damage lingers. I don't trust easily anymore. Not even my own family. I still think about that day sometimes, the moment she said, I just can't let you win. How many years had she been carrying that grudge? How many times had I looked the other way when she lied, thinking it was just Riley being Riley? I used to think family meant unconditional support. Now I know better. Family can be your biggest enemy if you're not careful. But I'm healing. Slowly. Quietly. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time.